Good morning. How's everyone doing? Woo-hoo. Did you have a good time yesterday? Yes. How's everyone at home? Let's say hi to everyone at home. So welcome to day two. Welcome to day two. Have a seat and get ready to learn. I want you to sit in a way you'd be sitting right now if you were just totally excited about being here and learning some incredible things. I want you to sit that way right now. Why'd you have to move? What are you doing? All right, today we're going to kick off the day with the foundation of what I think is very fundamental to learning, and that's memory. And that's really what I built my career on the past couple of decades. You know, what we talked about yesterday is there is no learning without memory. How many people like to have a better memory? A memory serves you in every way, right? Does it help your business? Yes or yes? What about your health? Your relationships? I mean, the fabric of life is our memories, right? Our memories is our experience, and our total sum of our experience is our wisdom, right? And that's what we're talking about here today. And so what we're going to do is yesterday was all about getting into that peak state, learning to have fun again with your learning, also talking about having a blueprint for your learning. And then we had Sir Ken, which was extraordinary. I got a wonderful message from him after this, talking about the learning revolution that we're all part of. How exciting is that? To be in the right place at the right time. And so we need people who are at the forefront, leaders, to be able to step up. Today, what we're going to focus on is three things. Memory. We're going to focus on problem solving. How many people have some problems in your life you like to solve? We're going to talk about innovation and problem solving, and we're going to talk about optimizing your brain health. How many people like to clear the cobwebs in your brain a little bit? Right? Because, you know, I could give you the best software, we can inject the great software inside your brain, but it also helps to be able to upgrade your brain, right, with the hardware. And Dr. Amen's going to be speaking today and give you the exact strategy he focuses on to be able to unlock what he calls your superhero brain. So get ready for that. Now, in terms of memory, the time we have here together, what's most burning in you right now? Because this is a training for me. This is not like a presentation. And what area because when people say, they come to me all the time saying, I want to improve my memory. But for me, I hear that it's kind of like, you know, I want to improve my ability at sports. You know, like what area of memory? Yes?
I have two conflicting thoughts that beat each other up in my head all the time, and they have completely interfered with my ability to remember and concentrate.
And what are those thoughts?
Their relationships.
Very, very cool. So what area of memory are you thinking would you like to be better at?
I'd like to be more present and clear.
Yeah.
So that I can focus.
Focus. How many people have challenge focusing nowadays? Good. That'll definitely affect your memory. Thanks, Anton. Yes?
Remembering names and faces.
Names and faces. How many people you meet somebody, you get their name, and then seconds later it just drops out of your mind? How many people has this happened more than once? How many people it happened the past 10 minutes? All right, good. What else? Yes?
When you have rapid instruction given to you, they can be quite lengthy, but you need to remember all of them.
Yes. Oh, okay, so I'll repeat that. When information's coming at you like this, like data, like steps for things or things you need to be able to do, how do you capture that right away? So we could definitely cover that. Yes?
When I'm in a pressure situation, my brain just locks up, and I'm just like, and you can ask me my name at that point, but I don't. I hope to clear that.
You can't remember your name. You can't remember how to spell your name. You can't. This is kind of brain lock. Yes.
Things that I remember that I have no need to remember, and then when I want to remember something, it's not necessarily
it's not there. Have you ever done that? It's like you forget someone's name, and then hours and hours later, you're just driving your car, and all of a sudden, what pops in? That name, right? Yeah, brain scientists are saying actually that all the information that's ever happened to you actually is in your nervous system somewhere. And I know tomorrow we're going to have the great pleasure of welcoming Mary Lou Henner, who's going to talk about accessing that information. That literally they'll do studies. I know we have some hypnotherapists watching at home or sometimes in the room also. They take people through this age regression session where they remember when they're 8 years old to the point where they could remember what day their birthday fell on. like 90+%. They'll do brain surgery on adults to the point where they'll stimulate different parts of their brain so that they could actually read signs off the road when they were a kid driving around. And so their information is there, but it's the recall, is how to get it out of you. And I know Mary Lou's going to cover that in depth tomorrow. Well, okay, so why don't we cover that? Names and information and being more present. And the key to do this, though, is I'm going to go really, really quick because we have a lot of... Are you guys up for that? Yeah. All right, so you guys want to sit up in peak state? Because remember this kind of peak state, because when you slump like this, you collapse your what? Your lungs, your diaphragm. And where's all the oxygen coming from? Right? And so the bottom third of your lungs absorbs the 2/3 of the oxygen. And that's what you need for your blood, which goes to where? Your brain. A lot of people get tired and they automatically go to food. Go to oxygen, right? So you want to be able to breathe. All right, so let's go names and faces, all right? I'm going to give you really fast, quick tips on how to remember names and faces. And so the first thing you want to remember, and this is fundamental, even if you've seen my trainings before, to be able to, just as a good review, you always want to remember mom. M-O-M. Now, how many people, again, have challenges with names? And you could raise your hand at home also. Challenges at names. And so here's the challenge. But how many people also, sometimes you remember some names? Like no one forgets. Does anyone forget everyone's name? Okay, hopefully not. Well, let's say this, that there's somebody here with, let's say, Peter Diamandis, who's one of our speakers today from X Prize. They award people millions of dollars to be able to solve some of the life challenges and that is facing the world. If he had a suitcase of $100,000 for you or your favorite charity, if you just remember his name, how many people are going to remember his name? Right? Because what's the first M? Motivation. So it's not a matter of your capability. You're a genius. It's only one or two words. It's, are you motivated to remember the name? Remember, motivation, what's your motive for action? So I always ask people to ask themselves, tune into everyone's favorite radio station, WIIFM. What is it? What's in it for me, right? I always kind of imagine when I see people, that they put this little antenna on top of their head and it says, that's the antenna that they're thinking about. What's everyone's favorite subject? Themselves, right? So I would ask yourself, why do you want to remember the person's name? Because if you can't come up with one reason, what will happen? You won't remember, because reasons precede results. Reasons, thank you, precede results. So reasons always come first. Remember we talked about before, it goes from your head to your heart to your hands. If you're not implementing, you're not accessing the emotions, and that's what a lot of this event is all about. So the O, do this. Take your right hand, look at it, shake it out, make a fist, put it to your chin. Now where's your chin? I know it's a little bit early, right? The O stands for observation. So a lot of people blame their memory when it has nothing to do with their memory. It's not a retention issue, it's an attention issue. How many people can relate? So when we're talking about being present, in the moment, you need to be able to, the best way to be present is just to quiet. Like one of the things I'm going to talk about tomorrow is this skill called speed reading. How many people would like to read faster? And one of the biggest challenges that keeps you from reading faster is this, what they call sub-vocalization. How many people notice when you read something to yourself, you hear that inner voice reading along with you? Hopefully it's your own voice. It's not like somebody else's voice. If you have to say the words inside your head to understand it, then you can only read as fast as you could what? Speak. That means your reading speed is limited to your talking speed and not your thinking speed. And that's why some people read really, really slow. But that self-talk is a challenge because a lot of times when people are talking to somebody and actually getting their name, they're not hearing it because why? They have their own self-talk. How do I know this person? What am I going to talk about? And if there's two conversations going on, one with you and one with you and someone else, a stranger, what are you most likely to pay attention to? Yourself, right? So a lot of people aren't hearing it, so you need to pay attention. The M stands for mechanics. And that's what today's about. Today is about giving you not the person that's going to fix your car. It's about giving you the skills, the tips, the techniques on how to remember names and faces, how to memorize a speech. Matt was talking about what he did with his wife, giving him steps to remember speech. I won't cover it in this specific session, but maybe a little bit later today, I'll show you how to be able to. How many people would like to give a speech without notes? Not have to use a teleprompter or slides or anything like that. So I'll give you that a little bit later. All right, really quick. You always want to remember this. Be Dr. Suave. If you want to remember the name and faces of everyone you meet, we had a client recently that in New York, we have an office in Westchester, New York. He went down to Florida and was with his client there at a networking event that he was throwing. And we met 50 people. He left saying goodbye to every single person by name. Now, is that a superpower or is that a superpower? Because if you walk into a room and meet 50 people, leave saying goodbye to every single person by name, who do they all remember? Because people don't care how much you know until they know what? How much you care. It's really hard to show somebody you're going to care. How many people here own your own business? How many people here have a relationship with a human being? Right? It's really hard to show somebody you're going to care for their business, for their finances, for their health, for their future, or their family, if you don't care enough just to remember what? Their name, something that simple. Now think about the essence of a name. It's probably one of the emotion attached to a name. It's probably one of the very first words you learn how to write. True or false? And how much love and reinforcement are you given at that time as a child? You know, so that's the power. So be Dr. Suave. The B stands for believe. I'll say believe. Because if you believe you can or you believe you can't, either way, what? You're right. Who said that? Henry Ford said that, right? And so you want to be able to monitor your beliefs. Let me show you what a belief is. Stand up real quick. And why do a lot of the instructors, the faculty here, why do they have you like move around a lot? Pattern interrupt. What else? Change your physiology, right? Because your physiology affects your what? Your psychology, right? There's not just a brain-body connection, there's a what? A body-brain connection, that by moving your body, literally, this is what science proves, when your body moves, your brain grooves. The grooves in your brain, those connections happen by moving your body, right? We gave you juggling balls and you want to bring them tomorrow with you. Tomorrow I'm going to teach you how to juggle because they found a new study in Oxford found that people who juggle actually have bigger brains. How many people want a bigger brain? Yeah. So juggling actually helps that, and then I'm going to show you specifically how it helps with reading. Because in order for you to juggle like this, then let's say there's 3 balls. Can you focus on any one ball? No, because you don't have that many eyes, right? So what helps though is to have this soft vision to be able to see all of it, right? And that also helps tremendously with what? Reading. To be able to take in more information. So I'm going to show you. But not only that, it actually helps with your brain also as well. So here's a belief exercise real quick. So stand up. Your hands are by your side. What I'm asking you to do now, take a deep breath. I want you to raise your hands forward like you're Superman. I see the cape behind you right now. And just close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Relax and breathe normally. And I just have you close your eyes because it helps you to focus. Gets rid of distractions, help you be present. And I want you to imagine on your left hand, I want you to imagine that there's a book on there. There's a book sitting on your left hand. Maybe it's you're an author and it's your book. Maybe it's upcoming speaker's book, Abundance, on your left hand. And then also you're adding another book on there. Dr. Amen's new book, Use Your Brain to Change Your Age. And you're putting more books. You're putting The Element on there. You're putting Mary Lou's book, Total Memory Makeover. It's on your left side. You can feel it, right? See it and feel it in your brain. And on the left side, though, on the right side, sorry, I want you to imagine that it's tied to balloons, these helium balloons on your fingers, like lots of balloons on your right side. And you're breathing and see and feel in your body what it feels like. What does that feel like? Imagine it's not really happening, but it is happening in your mind's eye on your right side. The left side has all the books. You're putting the King James Bible on the right side, a couple encyclopedias, and on the right side, you have these balloons. More balloons. I mean like a blimp, big blimp balloon. All right, now open your eyes and look at your neighbor. All right, now, by the way, raise your hand if there's a little discrepancy between your arms. Wow, almost 85% of the room. Now sit down real quick. Was that really happening? It was inside of where? Inside your mind. And so beliefs, all behavior is belief-driven. All behavior is belief-driven. So one of the fundamental things that we're talking about, it's hard to help people. Do people have beliefs about how smart they are? Do people have beliefs about who they are in a relationship? Do people have beliefs about who they are healthfully? Do people have beliefs about where they are financially? So you always look at the beliefs first. The E stands for exercise. Exercise. And I don't mean like physical exercise, although across the board, all the studies say that people who are more physically active do better on mental acuity tests than they would if they're just dormant. How many people believe that? Right? So anything that's good for your heart is good for your head. All right? Your heart, your head. So you're always looking at that exercise. But I mean practice, because practice makes what? Did I hear profits? Permanent. I like practice makes permanent, right? Because perfect practice makes perfect. But I mean, I think superheroes always, there's never like a perfect, right? You could always get to the next level, right? Superheroes are always looking to grow so they have more to give. So practice makes permanent. Practice makes progress. But if I practice like typing like this, there's a big difference between me practicing with 2 fingers to type and practicing with what? All 10 fingers, right? And that's kind of like when we go to reading tomorrow, a lot of people are reading like this. And you could practice this all day long, but it's far from what you could be in terms of perfect, right? And so you want to be able to practice, you want to be able to exercise, you want to be able to have discipline, right? A lot of people they look at discipline as this jailer, right? How many people like, you know what to do, but you can't get yourself to do it? Like you know what you should be doing, but you're not turning your shoulds into must, right? And discipline, a lot of people think that this thing called discipline is this jailer. And for me, maybe it's from my family or my parents, it's just I always thought that discipline was like freedom. The ability to get yourself to do something you wouldn't normally do is pretty extraordinary, right? And those are the things that I would like to focus on. So exercise is practice. So I'm going to give you these skills, but know that your mind is like a muscle, and it grows stronger with use. But obviously your mind's not a muscle, but metaphorically is. But a lot of people with technology, how many people have a phone? It has like all your phone numbers, and if you don't have your phone on you, you can't dial a number, right? Use your phone for math. I mean, we're outsourcing our brains to technology. Is that true or false? All right, it does math for you. It finds directions for you. And you have Siri there. I mean, it does everything for you nowadays. So what happens with this? Yeah, it kind of gets a little dull, right? It's not thinking. It's not becoming a quick thinker. And so a lot of challenges, I was talking to one doctor, they're saying that they're finding, they're not getting early cases of onset of Alzheimer's and dementia because technology is doing all this stuff for you because you're not realizing you're losing your mind, right? Because you're not getting, you have GPS getting you from here to there, you're not realizing you're forgetting on how to do it. So you need to practice, right? Because what you practice in private, you're rewarded for where? In public, right? Practice. The D is, now you want to remember the person's name? The D stands for you want to decide. Decide. And you all know what decision, right? You've heard this before, decision. Like incision means to what? To cut. Incision means to cut. Decide means to cut off from any other possibilities, then you do it, right? It's either I'm going to do it or I'm going to what? Do it, right? So if you just really, let's make this practical. If you were going to meet a stranger here today in this room and you really decided you're going to remember the person's name, are you more likely to remember the person's name? Yes or yes? And so you decide, right? The R is relax. What's one of the biggest obstacles to effective learning? Stress, right? That's why we have individuals come on stage here and get you moving, right? We had Shay Vaughn talking about movement meditation because that stress creates cortisol, creates adrenaline in your body, shuts off your brain in different areas really hard. When people are studying or they need to give public presentations and are nervous about it, what happens? A lot of people forget because that anxiety, that information anxiety shuts off different parts of your brain, so you want to be able to relax, right? And what are different ways you could just really quickly, you know how to do this, but we just don't do it. How do you relax?
Breathe.
You breathe. Number 1, you breathe. Absolutely. What else? You stretch. You move your body. What else? You meditate. Absolutely. 20 minutes a day. Every day. What else? People say like, well, what if I don't have 20 minutes a day? Like I'm so busy, I don't have 20 minutes to meditate. Then take an hour to meditate then. So you relax, right? Now, the suave is the actual technique. The suave is the actual technique. You meet somebody and the first thing you do is you say the name. You say the name. Because the repetition is power, right? It helps you to remember it again. You hear it again. So you go to somebody. Hi, my name is Jim.
Hi, Jim. I'm Marnie.
Marnie, it's nice to meet you. How many times did I just hear her name? Twice, right? Once from her and once from where? Myself. So I repeat it right there. The other reason why I say it is also so I make sure I heard it correctly, going back to observation. Because you don't want to have a 20-minute conversation with Ted and say goodbye, Ed, right? When's it better to get corrected, early on or afterwards? Early on, so you say it. You is you use the name. Now notice I say use it, you don't, abuse it, right? Marnie, thanks for coming. Marnie, you want to grab some lunch? Marty, what would you look at? Marty. That would be an abuse, right? But you use it 3 or 4 times within the context of the conversation. By the way, did you see that Seinfeld episode? How many people have seen Seinfeld before? You ever see the one where he's dating somebody and he doesn't even know her name? And throughout the whole episode, he's trying to introduce him to his friends and go into her purse, look at her driver's license. And I think it rhymed with a part of the female anatomy. All right, so you want to be able to use the name. The A, how many people you meet somebody and their name is a little different? Right, 90% of the time it's the same. It's Jim or it's Alexis or it's James. It's common names. But A stands for ask, because what's everyone's favorite subject? Themselves. It's not golf, it's not travel, it's not anything. It's themselves, right? And a name especially. So somebody, let's say, you meet someone named Ridiger or Afzal or Isis. I did a training at the country's largest life insurance company. It was a room like this, and the training director's name was Nankita. Nankita. I was like, wow, that's a beautiful name. Now, by the way, what can you ask someone about their name? What kind? How do you spell it? What's the origin? What else? What does it mean? Right. Temeris. What does it mean? Actually, what does it mean?
It means ambrosia. It's Welsh for ambrosia. Emers's.
Ambrosia. Temeris is our live stream host. Let's give her a hand. What else can you ask someone about their name? How's it spelled, right? And so, I heard this name was Nankita. I asked that, what's the origin? How do you spell it? What does it mean? And she paused, and she didn't answer. She looked at her fellow workers, and I said, what does it mean? And she looked around and said, it means graceful, falling waters. I was like, wow. Does that put an image in your mind and do association to the name, right? And the more connections you can make in your brain, the more likely you're going to what? Remember it, right? And so there's no magic going on. This is the magic behind the method. And so I was like, wow, that's beautiful. And based on your coworker's reaction, I said, Nikita, I was like, how long have you been working here? About 4 years with all these people? She's like, most of these people, really good friends. I was like, wow, how many people actually knew that's what her name meant? And how many people raised their hand out of like 100 plus people? 0. All right. Now, did that create a certain kind of rapport there, a bond? So that's what happens from name. Because think about it. Have you ever been in a crowd and somebody shouts out your name and it's not you they're talking about, but you still look anyway? So I remember I was running a marathon. And I hear someone, and I'm in DC, so I know no one there. And then someone says, "Go, Jim!" And I look, and I almost trip because I'm trying to find, because you're so linked to the name, right? And then I'm running again. Someone says, "Go, Kwik!" And I looked again, and I just. So the name, it really, literally rings a bell. The V here is this: visualize. And this is what I'm going to talk about a lot today in terms of memorizing a speech or memorizing fast things you need to do. How many people are better? Let me ask you a different question. How many people are much better with faces than you are with names? Right? You go to somebody and you say, "Hey, I remember your face, but I forgot your name." It's never the opposite. You never go to someone and say, "Hey, I remember your name, but I forgot your face." That wouldn't make a lot of sense, right? So visualize is we tend to remember what we see. In fact, there is a Chinese proverb that goes, "What I hear, I forget. What I see, I remember. And what I do, I understand." What I hear, I forget. What I see, I remember. What I do, I understand. I heard the name, I forgot the name. I saw the face, I remember the face. And what I do, going back to exercise and practice, I understand, right? So you want to be able to visualize. Now, basically, the ultimate tip for this, because more of your brain is dedicated towards visualization, tip is you turn into a picture, right? So a lot of left brain is, and we're going to talk about this in the reading program, when we go over speed reading. Most people read, for example, very left brain. Left brain's logical brain, right? Left brain is words, it's languages, it's sounds. What's getting ignored a lot is the right brain. The right brain is not just the sounds of the words or the linear format of the words. The right brain is kind of like the experience. It's imagination, it's creativity, it's you visualizing, right? It's the emotions that are coming from it. So that part's usually left out. So when you be able to remember somebody's name, it helps to be able to turn it into a picture. So if a person's name is, let's say a person's name is Jen. What could you picture for Jen? Anything that, by the way, have you ever played like Pictionary before as a child? This is where it's like you have these note cards and you have a team and you have to look at your cards and you have to be able to write things and be able to get them to guess what's on your card without what? Without speaking or saying it. And if you're not sure what the word is or you can't draw it, you draw this, which is what? It's an ear, right? It means sounds like. So if a person's name is, for example, Mike, what could you picture? A microphone. So in a heartbeat, can you meet someone here named Mike and see them jumping on the table and just singing karaoke on a microphone? Can you see that? Or moonwalking like a Michael. Can you see that? And if it makes you laugh, that's why you remember it. Because a lot of people say, well, that's very kind of childlike. Again, who are the fastest learners on the planet? Children, right? And that, how many of us grew up with getting your names a little made fun of? Right? And you're in like therapy for like 10 years because you can't understand why, right? So children are the fastest learners, and that's what they do. They play these name games. So if a person's name is Mary, what could you picture? A merry-go-round. What else? A lamb. Can you imagine meeting someone named Mary, and you see all of a sudden she's carrying like 2 lambs underneath her arms, like that? And if it makes you laugh, what I always think about is, what do I see, and how does it make me feel? You know, what do I see and how does it make me feel? Because remember, emotion is attached to learning. All learning is emotional, right? How many people you tend to remember emotional events in your life, right? So emotion tied to information becomes memory. And I'm always looking for the emotion. That's why we're playing, it's not random that we kind of designed this event where people are jumping around and playing games and we're having different individuals kind of add humor to learning, because that's how we learn best, because all learning is state dependent. If you were to walk away with one idea out of this whole event, is all learning is state dependent. That I never go in and to study. Like I remember actually not recently, a few years ago, I get a call from late night saying, you got to help me. I'm in a lot of trouble. And I don't even know this person. I was like, how did you get my number? And it was like, well, I have a speaker coming in tomorrow to speak at noon, and he can't make it because of the weather, and he missed his flight, and I need a speaker. I'm like, well, usually, if you talk to our people with weeks, months out. He's like, no, it's tomorrow in New York City. I really need some help. I was like, well, what's the topic? And he tells me a topic, and I know nothing about this topic. And I was like, I tell him that, and I was like, why are you calling me? Well, I know you're a speed reader. I'm like, well, what do you mean? Well, he has a book. And I'm like, okay. He's like, well, you come in early and read his book. And I was like, all right. And if you're a speaker, and I was like, all right. I was like, this is going to cost you. But I ended up doing it. I get there early and I read the book and I present on it. And on the conference, humility aside, it was the best speech feedback of the weekend. And not because I'm a great speaker, because I'm not. I'm so phobic about doing what I'm doing right now. You have no idea. And I've never had 1 ounce of any kind of public speaking experience. I just want to be a teacher. My mom's a teacher. My aunt's a teacher. I love sharing ideas, right? And so, well, going back to this in terms of visualization, you take the name, you turn it into a picture, and then you link the picture to the person. So a person's name is John. What can you picture? whatever you're picturing. So the E here, because I want to get to the other stuff, the E stands for end. Remember what I told you about this gentleman, Kevin, who went down to Florida and memorized everyone's name and saying goodbye to every single one? You end with their name, all right? And that's an unbelievable skill. And I asked you to be able to practice this. Now, one thing that will make it a little bit easier, and I'd love to take people on stage. Actually, can I get just like 3 or 4 volunteers real quick on stage? Anyone who wants to kind of play and all that good stuff? Thanks. Is this okay? Awesome. All right. Welcome our superheroes here. Okay, really quick tip, all right? We're going to do this really fast. Learning, like names, is as easy as P.I.E, P-I-E. All right, so if you want to be able to visualize with greater accuracy, then P.I.E, P-I-E. The first thing I do when I meet somebody, and this is what I still do to this day, is I look at them and I pick a place. So P stands for place, okay, place. Because all learning, as you learn, what we're going to talk about this later today, is we sort by our memories by location. Maybe it's through just survival. We need that way back when. We didn't really need to memorize numbers, for example, but what did we need to remember? Like where the food was, where the enemy tribes were, there's our space, right? And in fact, when you forget someone's name after asking what's their name, what's the first question you ask? Where do I know them from, right? Because context, if content is king, then context is the kingdom. Gary Vaynerchuk says, context is God, right? And so context creates the meaning, right? So the first thing I look is for place. And specifically, I'm looking at the person. And I'm looking for something temporary or permanent on the person that stands out, all right? So if you look at this gentleman here, hi there, my name's Jim. Gordon, it's nice to meet you. What sticks out right away? Glasses, right? So the place for me is glasses. So what's his place? Glasses, excellent. Hi, my name is Jim.
Hi, I'm Marnie.
Marnie, it's nice to meet you. What's the first place? Hair. How would you explain her hair? Short hair. So I say short hair, great hair, right? Short hair, great. This gentleman here, what's the place? My name's Jim, by the way.
Hi, I'm Nathan.
Nathan, nice to meet you. Beard. Okay, so what's his place? Beard. Say it out loud? Because that helps the auditory recall. Great. Hi, my name's Jim.
My name's Anton.
Anton, nice to meet you. What's the first thing that pops? The smile is interesting, but what if he's not smiling like when you meet him a little bit later? What's the first thing? White shirt. Okay, this place is what? White shirt. Excellent. So that's the place. The I is the imagine. And that's what you're doing with the name, right? You're imagining the name. And that's where you're going back to tip, turn into a picture. And you can do this at home also. So the name here, hi, my name is Jim again. Gordon, it's nice to meet you. Now, Gordon, if I say Gordon and you needed to remember it, what would help you to remember it sound like? By the way, how many people you forget someone's name, and then what you end up doing is you start going through the alphabet? Does it start with an A? Does it start with a B? Does it start with a C? You start getting really worried when you get to like W, right? Because there's like not many letters left, right? But does it sometimes work? Sometimes it does. So sometimes one letter triggers it. Imagine if you had something that sound like it or remind you. So Gordon, what can you remember? Flash Gordon. Wow, Flash Gordon. And so, good. So that's really a superhero. So Flash Gordon. So that's what you're imagining there, right? Flash Gordon. So this is Flash Gordon. The E here means entwine. Entwine. So what you're doing is basically you're connecting the P and the I, the place with the imagination here. So what's the place? Glasses. And what's the imagine? Flash Gordon. Now you're connecting it. Now here's the glue that connects it. I call them the vowels, right? The vowels kind of connect the words, right, together, the different words. So it's like, what are the vowels? A, E, I, O, U. So what I'm looking for is A. I look to make this connection. The glue for me is A is action. Do we tend to remember things that have action? So action. The E is what you want to make it is you want to make it emotional. Emotional, because we tend to remember things that we feel, right? The I is you want to make it illogical. Illogical, because if it's too logical, we don't remember the logical very much. The O is you want to make it outstanding. Outstanding, meaning it stands out literally. And then the U, and I'm going over this because I want to use this in the next exercise, the U is you make it a little unusual, okay? So what could you imagine that's fun, that's emotional, that has action with Flash Gordon and glasses? What's that? Flash Gordon disguise? Good. What else? Flying in? Good. Can you imagine Flash Gordon coming and just stealing his glasses? Can you do that? How long does it take, by the way? Seconds, right? If not a fraction of a second. So remember we talked about yesterday rote learning, where it's just repetition 50 times, you have to repeat the name? Here you do it in a heartbeat, okay? What's the place? Very good. Hi, my name's Jim.
Marnie.
Marnie. So what's the step you have to do? Imagine, right? What can you imagine for Marnie?
The ocean and a knee. Mar is the ocean and a knee.
Mar and the knee. That's very creative. How many else thought of that? Okay, what else? What else could you think of that would remind you that if you forgot the name, something's close enough that would remind you of what the name is? What else? What's that? Marnie? Marley and Me? What's the name of the movie? No problem. So actually, Marley would actually help me remember it also. Barney? Nice. Oh, great. So does everybody have the big purple dinosaur inside your head now because of Craig? Okay, so let's use that. Okay. So
I did, didn't I?
so who's doing her hair? Barney. All right. But what's her name though? Marnie. And Barney has a big what on her? M. You see that? Okay. Excellent. Hi, my name is Jim.
I'm Nathan.
Nathan. What's his place? Beard. What's his name? Nathan. What do you picture? Hot dogs. Great. Hot dogs all over his what? That's very flattering. By the way, you're doing this in the privacy of where? In your mind. You're not sharing this with people, all right? So hot dogs all over his beard. Sorry. His place? Shirt. Jim? Anton. What can you picture for Anton? Ants. Wow, that's really good. Excellent. Who said that? So if you forget someone's name, if you forgot his name, but your real memory knows this, right? You just need something to trigger it. So ants all over his what? Ants on, Anton all over his shirt. Do you see it? Great. So here we go. How's your memory, everyone? Super. What's his place? What was going on with his glasses? Flash Gordon. What's his name? Gordon. Notice you didn't say Flash, all right? Because your true memory knows the difference. If you call him Flash, that's a big problem, all right? What's her place? What's going on with her hair? What's her name? Excellent. What's his place? What's going on with his place? Hot dog. What's his name? Nathan. Excellent. What's his place? White shirt. What's on his white shirt? Ants. What's his name? All right, give him a round of applause. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. How many people feel like you could do that? Like you don't have to use every single step, but if you just were motivated to remember a name and you just paid attention, are you more likely to remember the person's name? What a lot of this is, what we're doing here even with people at home, is we're making you conscious of what you're doing. Because so many things a lot of what we do is about unlearning. Do you get it? We're like breaking the bad habits. The habits we learned how to read, the habits we learned how to initially study, maybe those weren't the perfect ways when we're 5 and 6 and 7 years old. And so we're about unlearning those, unraveling those, getting you in a peak state so we're open to it. So people like Glenn or Matt, some of our facilitators here, they open up your brain so it can make new connections, right? And that's what we're doing here by design.